Okay, let's get started. So welcome everybody, welcome to our member story. So this is one of our events where we actually share with one of our members, a fellow member of yours, and just really understand a little bit more about their contact centre, their business, and what it is that they're doing at the moment, and then really try an opportunity to share best practice, and kind of for you guys to ask some questions throughout as well. So please do use the Q&A button. For those of you that aren't familiar with Zoom, which I would imagine is not many nowadays, in your bottom of the screen, there's a chat button. So you're able to chat to us and the panelists, and you're also able to ask lots of questions as well, which I will pick out throughout, or we'll save some time at the end as well for questions. Just so we've got some quality of sound, you as an attendee, your microphone will be muted and you won't be on screen. So welcome to the Perfect Home team. So we've got a head of customer account management, Lisa Owles. She's joining us this morning, as is Lorraine O'Neill, head of customer experience, Jenny Green, who's our senior marketing manager, and Jack Lockhart as well, who's learning experience and performance manager. So they'll be talking each of their sessions around what it is that they'll be doing in their business as well. So first of all, I would like to invite Lisa to join me on camera, if you would, Lisa. Great stuff. And we'll get you straight on. We'll stop sharing at that point. Great stuff. So everybody should be able to see myself and Lisa. Welcome. Thanks for joining me this morning or this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great. So I noticed you're in the call centre today.
I am. It's a little bit deserted. It's lunchtime at the moment, so it means there's going to be no background noise though, which is good.
Yeah. So can we have a little sneaky peek then? Maybe just shift the camera a little out of the way. Yeah.
So it's sort of, if you can just see there. Yeah. So it goes round in sort of a U shape. But yeah, there's not a great deal of people in today. So
yeah. And I believe you're monitoring everybody's movement, which way they go in and out of the building.
I am arrow monitor at the moment, Sarah. Yes, that is my new position. Making sure everybody's abiding by the social distancing and following the arrows that they should be.
Great. Oh, so tell us a little bit about, for those that don't know Perfect Home, tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
So we've been established since 2006, and we sell household items on hire purchase agreements. We've also just ventured into the cash loans business as well. And at one point at our peak, we had 70 high street stores nationwide. And then back in sort of 2017, we embarked on our journey to become an online digital business. So that's a little bit about us. But we'll obviously cover that story in a lot more detail as we run through today.
Yeah. And what's your role? Tell us a little about your kind of day-to-day role.
So I am the head of customer account management, and in the contact centre that you see me in today, we have an FTE of 68. And we deal with sort of the collections and the account management side of the business. So we've certainly been dealing with a lot throughout the pandemic and the financial impact that that's had on some of our customers, or the majority of our customers, shall we say. But we do have two contact centres. This one is up in Newcastle City Centre, and then my colleague Lorraine O'Neill, she's based down in Birmingham and she heads up the Customer Experience Centre. So two contact centres across two different locations.
Right. And you know, we're going to have to touch on it. How's the pandemic affected kind of your operation? You know, what tell us a little bit about that and what you've been through and where you are now.
We've had, we went through quite a bit at the beginning, certainly from an operational perspective, you know, and I've got some information here which I'll talk you through about how we actually were able to transition to a home working model. But actually from a productivity and a commercial perspective, we fared really well throughout the course of the pandemic. And I think, you know, it comes because we've been able to really help and assist our customers with the troubles that they've had. And yeah, we're doing well, and we're doing really well at the moment.
Great.
So
Brilliant.
yeah, looking forward to the future.
Yeah. And what have you been doing from a operational percent? I know you've opened today and you're in the contact center. Are you doing a hybrid model? Are people in and out? Or
Yeah, we are. We're currently working. So what we're looking at is the priority. So, we did have issues where people were struggling mentally from working from home. And there was people who lived alone who were struggling without the social interaction. So they like to come back in. So they were absolutely our priority from a duty of care perspective. And then we look at the new starters. So we've still been recruiting. We've had 2 new intakes throughout this period of time, and they're in the centre because they're then close to our academy coaches and team leaders. But we've also had, the same issues that I've heard many people have had with conduct, quality, compliance, and those aspects. So we do look to also bring those back into the centre as well. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix, but it works well for us. It's working really well.
And how's that recruitment piece gone? A lot of people now are focusing on that. Do you need a different type of person now? Somebody that is used to working from home and, maybe a bit more resilient? What does that look like?
Yeah, we've been looking across sort of a broad spectrum, to be honest, because actually I'll take you through in a little bit more detail the fact that now, we're really looking to push forward with an omni-channel type of model going forward. So we're looking at people with different skill sets, but ultimately, we're also looking at people that can cope with a hybrid model of work. And so it has really sort of changed our perspective on recruitment, definitely.
So tell me a little bit about that journey then, that omni-channel journey that you've embarked on.
Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of background first of all, just the journey from the beginning. And obviously, as I said there and touched on before, we went from being a high street retailer to then deciding, once the Financial Conduct Authority took over from the Office of Fair Trading, we decided at that point that we were going to look to change our business operating model, and we were going to look to really drive that online. And it sort of coincided with what was the death of the high street at the time as well, which was very evident across the board. So we embarked on our mission to obtain a consumer credit license, and in 2017 we were awarded that license, which was brilliant. We commenced with our strategic plan of closing the stores at that point in time. And for me, I was then given the opportunity to really drive the centralisation piece forward for collections. And I started that in 2017. So we started at the very beginning in a converted warehouse above one of our high street stores. We had sofas to the right and TVs to the left, and it wasn't the ideal environment. But then as the stores closed and we increased our FTE, we moved into the purpose-built location that you see me in today. And having built the department from the very beginning, but also being part of PerfectHome from the outset, because I've been here for 14 years from the beginning, I've always had a huge sense of pride in what we've been able to achieve. But the pride that I've actually felt since March of this year, probably, it doesn't compare to any other, if I'm honest, because prior to March, we had never contemplated a home working model. It just wasn't on the agenda. And then within the space of 2 weeks, we were able to get 3 customer facing departments working from home, our full support function, our head office function, everybody was in a home working environment. And we've done that within the space of 2 weeks. We were very responsive to that, which worked well for us. In the beginning, we had a slip in SLAs, as I've attended many webinars where people have said exactly the same. And there was certainly a lot for us to do to get that back on track. But what we were able to do was we had a field collections team at the time, and we were able to redeploy a proportion of them and have them working on dialer. Wasn't easy, it was a completely different role to what they'd been doing. But again, it worked well for us, and it helped to really sort of stabilize that customer journey and ensure that the customers could speak to us. But equally as important as a collections function is to ensure that we were driving outbound contact with our customers as well, because this was a global pandemic. It was like nothing we'd ever seen before. Furlough was a completely new concept to us. We'd never heard about furlough. We were dealing with redundancy. We were dealing with people having extra expenditure because their children were at home. But what we started to see is that this actually resonated with our agents as well, because our agents, whilst their jobs were secure with PerfectHome, they also were undergoing, potentially their husband was made redundant, or they were trying to deal with kids from a home working environment and the extra expenditure. So we had to really concentrate on how we could really engage the staff. as well as looking and understanding our customer behaviours and customer journey that, you know, the customer wanted to undertake as well. So just to give a little bit of understanding on how we sort of really engaged our teams, we started lockdown challenges. You know, we pitched teams against each other, we pitched departments against each other, and what we quickly found was that the more radical and random the challenge was, the more they loved it and they engaged in it. So it worked really well for us, and that really helped to sort of get people back online with productivity and, you know, the things that they needed to be doing. It worked really well, and everybody sort of was a lot more upbeat than what they had been. Communication was key, and communication for us came in the form of more team meetings. I was present on the team meetings just so that I was visible and that communication channel was open. Our CEO, he'd done podcasts, regular podcasts, so there was members of the board on there, members of the exec on there, and, you know, again, it was about hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and they really sort of embraced that. And my colleague Jack will actually take you through their initial feedback from our culture survey as well, which will just give a little bit more indication to
Yeah,
that.
it's been so important, that, hasn't it? The whole
Absolutely. Yeah.
communication piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what we started to find was that, you know, that because they were dealing with this level of financial distress, certainly in my department, we needed to sort of empower them again. I think there was a little bit of confidence lost. You know, it was trying to think about the right outcome for our customers when, remember, we hadn't dealt with these types of scenarios before, and it was, you know, so uncertain at the time as well. We didn't have any end dates, did we? So it was quite difficult. So it was all about for us empowering the team again, and as I've said to you before, you know, we started bringing people back in, and that helped people's mental well-being as well, which was good. And we really had to look at how the customer journey had been impacted, and this is where we really sort of started prioritizing our omni-channel journey. And whilst we were able to really bring inbound SLAs back into line, and we were doing well with our outbound stats and our interactions were up there, and it was really good to see, and we got back to our usual FTE. One thing that we were very aware of was that the customer behavior had changed with how they wanted to interact with us. So prior to this, we were very much about the telephone interaction because we were dealing with people's financial situations, and it was important for us to have that two-way verbal communication so that we could really understand it. We always tended to stay away from email communication or even publishing the fact that they could get in touch with us via email because we wanted to have that telephone conversation. What we found was that they were finding alternative ways of getting in touch with us because not everybody was actually comfortable with, one, the situation that they were in, because it might have been alien to them at the time, but also that they weren't comfortable with discussing that over the telephone. So we were getting a lot more email traffic in, and whilst email and live chat was something that Lorraine and her team do in the customer experience centre, it wasn't something that we'd really concentrated on. So we were aware that we really needed to prioritise our omni-channel journey, and we started really pushing that forward with our current dialer provider. We had been in talks, but there was no sort of set goal as to when that end date would be. And we've really driven that forward, and we will be in a position very soon whereby we'll be able to incorporate live chat into the department, which is brilliant. We've also still got the email, which is continuing to grow, and we're also going to be looking at testing two-way SMS and also WhatsApp conversations as well.
Yeah.
So it's really took us off on a different journey in comparison with what we ever had on our radar previously, certainly for my department.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really responding to
Yes,
that whole different behaviour, isn't it? And pattern of calls and you know, activity from
absolutely. Yeah.
customers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important, you know, this pandemic created a level of vulnerability that we'd never seen before,
Yeah.
as I say. So I think it's important that we respond to that and acknowledge that not everybody's going to want to have that conversation with us over the telephone. So that's obviously from our customer journey piece, and then from our staff and our teams, we are looking at more flexible working options. It was really refreshing and sort of inspiring to hear in the CCMA conference last week, you know, the gentleman from the Very Group talking about their very clear structure and way forward about how they're going to be doing it moving forward. And whilst we're not at that stage yet, you know, we have put surveys out there. We've asked the teams, how do you think you want to work moving forward? But also we've got to look at what's right for our customers as well. And I think, you know, we've really got to look at how we can push and drive our one team approach, despite what type of work and operational strategy we do have. So that is, again, set to be yet another journey for us.
Yeah.
And this whole digital transition, you know, my colleague Jenny will take you through sort of the customer feedback and how they've been impacted, but she's also going to touch on the app. And again, that's yet another digital aspect for us, which is pushing our journey forward. And it was really good last week. It was my first conference, CCMA conference last week, and one of the first presenters was Amy Cashman from Kantar, and one of her slides talked about the 4 key elements about driving a business forward, a contact center forward in sort of the new normal, and how we need to be responding. And she talked about agility, empowerment of employees, using data to better understand customers, and using change to develop and grow. And it was at that point I could feel myself smiling. You know, it really resonated with me. And I thought, as a business, Perfect Home is absolutely ticking those boxes.
Yeah.
So I am really excited for what the future's to bring. And as I say, you know, you'll hear from our colleagues the great work we're doing elsewhere as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you know, it's nice that you reference those, because that's absolutely why we wanted you to share this journey. Is you're asking colleagues what they want, you're asking your customers what they want, you're using that insight to really, really leverage that change. So so brilliant. Thank you very much, Lisa. That was a really good overview. Thank you. So can I welcome Lorraine? Hi, Lorraine. So Lorraine is the head of customer experience. So you're going to expand on some of the stuff that Lisa's already talked about, aren't you, really? And kind of give us a sense of, you know, what's happened in that space. And you're quite new to PerfectHome, aren't you, Lorraine?
Yes, goodness me, I've been here for 6 months now, but I was recruited the day that lockdown was due to start originally. So my start date got put back a little bit. So I'm going to talk about the challenges of taking over a new team virtually as well. Because whilst I've had loads and loads of operational experience in the past, you know, I've never had to do it all virtually like this. So yeah, there's opportunities and challenges as we go.
There is, absolutely, and we'll be doing more and more of that, isn't it? That, you know, that role now traditionally has always been in the contact center. Now it's kind of virtual, so you really did have a baptism of fire then, didn't you?
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a massive challenge.
So tell us a little bit about that then. You know, tell us a bit about your experience and kind of your vision for the customer experience as well.
So in terms of the contact centres, when I first started, first and foremost, I think my background is usually large volume contact centres. I spent 20 years running call centres for Barclays Bank, then I did domestic and general and Orbit social housing. And when I was looking for a new role, there was lots of different companies that were looking for heads of customer experience at the time. But what really attracted me to the PerfectHome role was first and foremost the language that they used in the advertisement, because sort of like that's the sort of company with the culture that they're creating. It was genuine, it was authentic, it was really easy to understand. You know, the objectives looked really stretching in the role, and the more that I got through that process, the recruitment process, the more I thought, oh my goodness me, I really want this job. So once I got it, I started on the 18th of May when I finally got it. And again, you know, it was all about how am I going to manage and build my team virtually. So it was all about how I was going to manage and build my team virtually, because it was something, like I said to you, I've never done before.
I know. So did you have an existing team already, or were you enhancing that, or was it starting from scratch?
So I inherited a team, and again, as we go through and I'll talk to you more, I'll tell you about the restructure that we went through, because we did do a restructure on that. And there were some challenges around that as well, because it's always difficult. And again, I think that for people that have been in an operation for a long time and you absolutely know your people, there's a different dynamic in terms of the way that you would do that. Again, for me, it was all about starting fresh and doing that, building those new relationships, but doing them via Teams.
And Teams has certainly got some use. We've got some use out of Teams and Zoom, haven't we?
Given I've never used it before, as I said to you, you've got to learn quite quickly. You might have heard in the background, I've just turned my Teams off there, but my work's mobile phone, I've got one of my Teams guys phoning me up now, so I've just put my phone on my seat. So if you wonder what was going on, it's the joy of Zoom and Teams at this moment in time.
So you get your team together, and then what's your focus from a customer perspective then?
So for us, in terms of that, it's all about first point of contact resolution now. Originally, when I took over the contact centre, it was very siloed. We've got colleagues that I had 8 different, well, I've still got eight different areas that the guys come in, the customers can come in, and they were all single skill set colleagues. So I'd had somebody that could do service, I had one person that could do theft and accidental damage. All of our colleagues are on different contracts. So you can only imagine the customer journey is really poor as they get handed off from different areas. So part of my strategy, and one of the first things that I wanted to do, was introduce a multi-skilling model.
Great. Okay. Brilliant. And you've managed to do that in that period of lockdown as well. Yeah.
So we're getting there. It's happening. I've got 50% of my people now that are on 2 skill sets or more, which is really, really good news. But then again, if I look at my IVR and look at what we're doing for the IVR, again, it's a really complex IVR. And I know that when we were off on furlough, when everybody was off work originally, and before I started work here, we all had to phone the Inland Revenue. Everybody was doing it, weren't they? And I was sitting there on several occasions cursing, going, oh my goodness me, this is the worst customer experience ever. I was screaming at my husband. But actually, when I came into PerfectHome and listened to our IVR, it's not any better. In fact, I'd probably say it was worse. And it was because of all these single skill sets. So the customers, as a customer, oh my goodness me, you're just getting handed all the way over. So at the minute, we've got 2 main IVR ports, and then we've got some different subsets. We're going to, and it's already in designed, ready to, it's just going to be 1 straight IVR, and then there's going to be 3 options for the customer. Really, really easy. It's going to be, you know, if you've got a service job, is it theft or an accidental damage? And then after that, it's going to be anything else. And our frontline colleagues should be able to do that.
Great. So just straight changing that first instant of the customer
Absolutely.
journey, isn't it? Yeah. And the plan is to continue that upskill as well, is it? So yeah.
Absolutely. So again, we've done it. We're in exactly the same situation as Lisa in Newcastle. We've recruited people, and then we've recruited people in lockdown. So we've had people in the office. We've been helping our colleagues with that. Some of our permanent people that we've just recruited now in the office, once they've got the speed to competency, they're working from home, but there's very structured support for them to be working from home as well. So again, you know, things changed. It's just a business, you know. There's always challenges when you're in contact centres, you know. I think the biggest challenge is that usually when you're in a call centre, you walk in, you'll observe things straight away, and you've got the opportunity to call out great things and nip things in the bud. I haven't had that opportunity. That's not a pity party. It's just I'm learning very quick, and we're all learning very quick how to manage a call centre virtually. I think that, you know, to Lisa's point, she's dead right. You know, I don't think any company realised how agile they were.
Yeah.
I do think this company has been really agile. When I think about the difference between Barker's, which was a corporate beast, and, you know, to change one thing, it was like turning around an oil tanker. What the team in PerfectHomes do together to get things right is amazing, and they do it really, really quickly.
Great. And what's on your roadmap for the future then? You've changed the IVR, you look at the multi-skill, and what's next for you and your team?
So the next thing for us is all about first point of contact resolution, getting it right for the customer. It's really about creating that culture where we want to own our trapped customers, because our guys in the CEC are the first point of contact for our customers. And it's like I say, nobody phones a call centre just for a chit chat. You know what I mean? It doesn't happen. There's either they've got something new and they want to ask a question about it, so potentially it's a customer, or there's a problem. If there's a problem, it's our job to resolve it and really get in the customer's worlds. That's why I want that multi-skilling model, so we can help our customers end to end. You know, it's great to see that it's happening now. In terms of our efficiencies and the skill sets, what our team are doing currently is it's all hands on deck on a Monday morning. We're at our busiest. And again, that was unheard of before. Our service team, back office service team, would never ever have taken frontline calls to help our colleagues and our customers on a Monday morning. But actually, that's become the new norm. And it's about creating that and building a team and evolving as we go along.
Yeah, brilliant. Wonderful. Thank you, Lorraine. Thanks for coming along and supporting. So I'd like to welcome Jenny now, who's the Senior Marketing Manager for PerfectHomes. Hi, Jenny.
Oh, hiya.
Hiya, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
So welcome. So you've just come back from maternity leave, haven't you? Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite an odd experience.
I was going to say, a funny time to come back. It's been probably a crazy time, hasn't it?
Yeah, so gave birth in December, had extremely weird maternity leave with half of it being in lockdown. Can totally, I mean, I'll go through some stats in a minute, but I can totally empathise with our customers because they've struggled with entertaining kids, and I had a newborn and a 3-year-old at home who was definitely missing his normal childcare routine. And then, yeah, came back in July and didn't actually see anybody in real life for about a month. But during that time, kind of not just my immediate team, but kind of wider colleagues as well, made really massive amount of effort to set up team calls and make sure that I was seeing a face, even if it was just on a screen, and sort of really putting in that effort to get me back up to speed, really, because there'd just been so many changes whilst I was off.
Yeah. And I bet it's changed quite a lot, hasn't it, as well, since?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our team was used to working from home every so often, but it was maybe once or twice a month. Now, being at home all the time, I'm quite lucky. I've got space in my house that I can do that. There's other colleagues in my team that really they want to be in the office, so it's making sure that we're giving them that access if it's going to be right for them as well.
Yeah. So Lisa mentioned early on that you guys have been doing a lot around trying to gather not only colleague feedback, but customer feedback in order to really enhance your model, your journeys, the operation. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think you've got some slides, haven't you, you're going to share with us as well? So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
great. I'll just pop off camera.
So yes, so there's barely a person across the world who hasn't been impacted by COVID, either directly through contracting the illness or being impacted by the restrictions. So we felt it was really important to understand how our customers have been impacted, not just from a commercial perspective for us, but so that we knew we could carry on kind of meeting their needs and communicating with them in quite a respectful way as well. So firstly, a little bit about our customers. Bear with me a second. So the majority are female and have at least one child in the household. Most of them do work full or part-time, but they tend to be in quite lower paid roles. And that means there's an extremely high proportion living in rented and social accommodation, which maybe isn't quite as stable as those of us that own our own homes. And almost half have someone in the household who are classed as key workers. So quite a high proportion of our customers had a much higher exposure or higher risk of exposure, I should say, to the virus, but without that normal support they'd usually have. And as the first lockdown hit, furlough suddenly became the word of the day. As of the 18th of October, there were 9.5 million jobs that were furloughed in the United Kingdom. And whilst we didn't specifically ask about furlough, we know that about 40% of our customers saw a reduction in income, either due to furlough, reduced hours, or redundancy. And out of that, 39% saw a reduction of over £100 per week. And to put that into perspective, that is the same amount as an average weekly grocery shop for a family of 4 in the UK. So it is quite a substantial amount of money. A huge 80% of our customers have adapted their finances in some way since lockdown started. Now, our customers have often struggled with poor credit rating, financial challenges in the past, but they are really good at budgeting, and it's often budgeted down to the last penny. So when something happens, they're actually quite good and can adapt quite quickly to changes. But this year, with everything happening so quickly and so dramatically, a lot of them have been pushed further into hardship. And then in terms of shopping, like most of us, we've probably seen spending increase on groceries and utilities because we've been at home a lot more, spending a lot less on travel, and our customers are spending more on home improvements because, again, like most of us, we're at home more, we've got more time to pick up those jobs that have been outstanding and kind of make sure our surroundings are a little bit more comfortable if we're going to be spending a lot more time here. Now, I mentioned earlier that majority of our customers have got kids at home. 70% of them had them during lockdown. And the hardest factors, which again I can totally empathise with, is keeping them entertained, dealing with those frustrations and making sure that they've still got some kind of school routine happening. And again, for our customers, family is a huge deal. And one of the biggest challenges and the biggest myth was family members. Wider research suggests that if you're on a lower income, you don't tend to move as far away. So a lot of our customers are probably used to seeing their families on quite a regular basis. So not being able to see them is going to have a massive impact on them. And whilst internet access might be a given for us, some customers still struggle to get broadband. So the Zoom quizzes and all the other online things that we might have been used to wouldn't have necessarily been an option for them. And in terms of mental health, that was already a growing problem, not just for our customers, but across sort of the entire population. But lockdown has really kind of made that issue grow more rapidly. About 1 in 4 of our customers struggled most or every day. And a similar amount are anxious about the future as well. And we need to take that into consideration with all our conversations and all our contacts with them. So what does this mean for us? Well, there's 3 kind of areas that we sort of really considered off the back of this research. So one of them was communication. Now, as you've heard, the customer-facing teams had the biggest challenge in ensuring that not only could our customers contact us still, but that our colleagues were able to cope with the distress the customers were facing, because it was quite different to what they'd dealt with previously. But outside of that, we needed to ensure that we kept customers informed. So throughout the first lockdown, like a lot of companies, we sent regular updates out to customers to let them know we're still open for business. We let them know what might affect their experience with us, but most importantly, it was about letting them know that they could still talk to us if they had any concerns, and that could have been relating to a product that they had, about their account, the payments, whatever it might be. We've already sent another email out because of lockdown 2, just reminding customers that it's business as usual as far as we're concerned. We're still here for them, and we're still selling as well. We've pushed all our sales online. Previously, we had sort of a sizable chunk coming through the CEC, but now they're all coming online. And going forward, as Lisa mentioned, we're going to be launching an app. And the key reason for launching that app isn't so much about sales, it's about allowing our customers to manage their app in their account in a more easy way, and making sure that customers have the opportunity to manage it in the way that they want to, that they've got more choice, that we're going to be building a few more self-service features in there, different ways of interacting with us. So it's putting all of that control into the customer's hands. And then in terms of products, a lot of retailers, including ourselves, COVID gave us a lot of challenges around supply chains. Appliances in particular were an area where we really struggled to get products, but they're something that our customers really need to have in stock. They're often a crisis item, so when the washing machine or the fridge breaks, customers need to get hold of them quite quickly. So what we did was work with a couple of our suppliers to really build up a bit of stock in that area and make sure that it was online. Now, our range of stock isn't as wide as what it was pre-lockdown, but it's getting there, and we're making sure that we've always got stuff for our customers. What it also did in terms of products was prompted us to look at the range of technology that we sell. Technology was the thing that really took off during the first lockdown. A lot of our customers realised that they were going to need tablets, laptops, or even new phones, either to keep in contact with friends and family or to actually do some work at home and schooling at home as well. So that became increasingly important. And then our proposition. We're currently very fixed on a pay weekly model, but as our customers' lives change, we need to look at how we adapt with them. Now, this could be a very simple thing of making payments more flexible or looking at alternative buying options. So whether people just pay in cash straight up or they rent the item rather than have it on hire purchase. And what we're doing is some wider research, so some interviews and some surveys to look at this in a bit more detail of what are our customers going to want going forward. And then that's everything from me. So it's not 1 or 2
Great,
months of
thank
lost
you. Brilliant, thank you, Jenny. That's really great. It's nice to see that you're building that understanding of customers and really using that to kind of shape your proposition and your plan as well. You know, you could tell that throughout you especially building the app, and also kind of that payment plan piece around just giving that power back to customers to be able to do things when and however they want to as well. So great, thank you so much for sharing that. Great. So I think we've got Jack next, actually. Hi, Jack. If you want to come on screen. Hiya, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good, great stuff. So Jenny's talked to us a little bit about kind of gathering that customer insight and then changing the strategy and the proposition. You've also been gathering lots of information from colleagues as well, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
And then using that to change culture and enhancing your operations as well. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that as well? I think,
Yeah.
have you got a few slides to share?
I have, if it wants to move on.
Great.
There we go. Oh, let me go
Okay.
that one. There we go. So yeah, absolutely. So this leads me to talk you through culture more than anything. So I know a number of the team have talked about their different journeys through the business. So I joined back in around July time. So my role is to create a more consistent focus and consistent approach to learning across the business. Funnily enough, joining in the middle of a pandemic probably wasn't as disruptive as I'd originally thought, because I'd worked as part of a distributed team before PerfectHome. So basically, I've had 2.5 years of a lot of prep of video calls. So I've just been very much getting used to this. So culture for me is an interesting word. So for me, the success of a business actually can come down to its culture. So for PerfectHome, we define that as how we do things around here. So what does the word culture mean to you personally and professionally? So as I go through, I'll leave you with a number of questions that you can take away. So what does culture mean to you personally and professionally? So is it about the knowledge that you need to succeed, or the importance that's placed on knowledge inside a business? Is it around things such as heritage or history? Or do you rely on something else to bring your culture to life? This is my favorite one out of all of them, as you can tell. So thinking about some of the companies you really advocate for, or others that you completely avoid, how much of that comes down to the culture of the business? So a number of you might have seen this quote before: culture eats strategy for breakfast. So while culture might be something we have, is it something that you manage and maintain? So what I'm trying to say is your culture laminated? Is it around the place, or is it lived? So I'm going to talk you through the why, the what, and the how of our approach to culture at PerfectHome, and the work that was led by an organisation called the PCAM Partnership in doing that. So as we go through, I will leave you with some questions, and I'll leave them up at the end as well for you as well, so you can do a bit of a diagnostic of where culture is for you at the moment. So at the centre of our strategy, we've heard it mentioned a few times already, is that customers are at the heart of everything that we do. So now when you're working more of a supporting function, that definition of a customer can mean a number of things. Most directly, it means the customers that we have products and agreements with, or the people that interact with us on a day-to-day basis, or in my role, in more of a support function. For me, that's about supporting those customers who are my internal customers. So our team members, the people that directly support our customers. So the core principle of how PCAM worked with us was to put people front and center of culture. So this was never about Jack's culture, Lorraine's culture, Jenny's culture, Lisa's culture, the board's culture, Andy the CEO's culture. This was about handing it over to our team members, because that's how you put people at the heart of everything that you do. So my question to get you thinking here is, who owns the culture at your company or at your organization? So using that why drives the how. So that drives us into here. So PCAM were active in making sure that the approach we took was multi-layered and pulled on both quantitative and qualitative insights. So the approach focused around 4 key pillars that you can see on the screen there. So a company-wide survey that I think we were mid-70s or high 70% in terms of the response. One-to-one interviews with key connectors in the business. Mixed focus groups, and a centralized design team that span different functions, different tenures, and different experiences within the business. So importantly here, though, this design team were not the drivers of the outcomes. They were just the custodians of all of this insight that came in. So our responsibility, and me as part of that design team, was not to rewrite the culture. It was to make sure that all of the insight from our team members was accurately represented in that finished piece of work. So as someone new into the business, that was the most challenging piece for me, that ability to operate more neutrally and just let the insight come through on its own merit. So in that design team, PCAM were very, very, very specific about keeping the focus on behaviours. So not just words, behaviours. So that did mean, and Lorraine and Lisa will probably attest to this, that we were agonising over specific words at times to make sure that we had clarity, brevity and activity in what we said. So if a word sounded passive or broad, we challenged what that really meant and how we would see that, feel it or hear it as a result in our working day. So my question that you can take back from here is, how specific and active are the behaviours that you expect from your people? And how would you know if you saw or heard these in action? So the people-focused how meant that our what was full of great insight. Because we'd aggregated all those thoughts down from all of our people, it could have ended up with far too many things to consider. So in that aggregation, though, we found a few key trends, and you'll see them up on the slide now. So what we've learned is that we have a solid base to work from, a strong platform, not a burning platform, which is a helpful place to be. So some words really shine through here. The most obvious there is friendly, but supportive, teamwork, rewarding. Sitting just behind those, though, are words such as siloed and political. So having a strong platform to work from is a positive, and yet it gives us a bit of an insight into areas that if we ignore them or put less effort into, they could take up more space on that word cloud next time around. So for me, this is the stake in the ground. It's recognizing where you are, positive, neutral or negative, because without this, the next part becomes very difficult to accomplish. So in that, we also asked our people, what is the desired state? What does the culture around here need to look like, or the most optimal culture for us to achieve our goals? That's the second state on the right-hand side. So knowing where you need to get to is only helpful if you know where you are, because this becomes the direction that we need to point in to create and nurture that culture that our team members want. So my question to you at this point is, where do you need to get to for your ideal culture? And knowing that, where are we currently starting from? Where is our stake in the ground? So that's the what, and it can be very easy to leave it there because we've got word clouds. What more could you want? For us, so it doesn't end at word clouds. So we've developed, as a result of this work, a playbook. So we're calling this the what now. This is going to become the go-to guide for keeping this work alive. So those behaviours have been aligned against our values, with specific behaviours linked into 4 key areas that are a little bit different now because we have refined them down. So deliver for our customers every time, work collaboratively with others, be the best that I can be, and enhance our perfect home. So these are backed up by beliefs under each of the values as well, which you'll see at the bottom. There's strong statements that are drawn from team member insight as well. Importantly, it's also helpful to have some backstops in place. So for every value in here, there are 1 or 2 what we don't do, and you'll see that in sort of the top right-hand corner piece there, that become our early warning system to bring ourselves back on track. Keep the balance more towards the positive, but have a few backstops in there as well. So one of the standout piece of me when I read every single response that came back was around us launching new initiatives and not taking the time to really embed it properly. So because of that message behind the culture work, for me, there isn't here's a playbook, there we go, on to the next thing. This is about the 12, the 18, the 24, the 36-month journey, if you look at our strategic plan as well, to embed it at different levels. So initially, it's about actually creating a consistent approach to team management. That came through in our insight as well. So all managers will be leading a discussion on each of the values and what it means to their team over the next year. That means in 12 months' time, when we come back round to it, we'll have covered each of the values 3 times over and iterated on what that means for the way that individual teams work. So the biggest question then becomes, how do we put the culture at the heart of everything we do? If we put the customers at the heart of everything we do, how do we then put culture at the heart of everything that we do as well? So when I look at a team member's journey with us, there's an opportunity to embed it at all points. or a number of points throughout that. So our responsibility then is to ensure that it's possible, it's consistent, and it keeps up that momentum for change. So some of the areas that we are going to target are on your screen. There are more that will bubble up over time, but it's about thinking, how can we embed this in all different parts of a person's journey with PerfectHome? So my question to get you thinking at this point is, where does your culture exist, and where is it embedded along the people journey? Does it live on a wall, or does it live in the key interactions and the touch points day to day in the business? So you've heard the why, I've taken you through the how, you've had a look at the what and a bit of the what now that goes with this as well. So I'm confident it's giving you a bit of an insight into us and that part of the journey that we're taking, and how we're going to be accountable for taking it forward to work as one team. And there is your diagnostics. All the questions that I've been through are there for you to use in your organisation as well. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jack. That's really good. Thank you. And just for everybody, we'll share the slides afterwards. So if you want to ask those questions in your organisation, you'll have all those as well. Jack will send those over. So thank you for that. And how's it going then, Jack? I know you've done a lot of work to kind of understand what people want from the culture and how that is going to, how you're going to plan to embed it. How's it going so far?
So it's getting into that point now where we're going to launch this with our managers across the business. So that falls with me as well, leading a team. The big part that comes out of this is about empowerment. So we're going to be very clear. We're not telling you how to go and do this. We're telling you what needs to happen. How you go and approach that is very much down to you. You know your team's best. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a, through November and December, not here's your homework, but actually you go away and tell us how you think it's best to embed this in your team using the bit of the structure that we want. So yeah, we've been through all that work from July, and now it's into the how do we continue to embed it in what we do. So yeah. Exciting.
A bit of test and learn and kind of and regroup in background
definitely.
again.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose virtually it's probably offering some challenges as well, isn't it? You can't get everybody in a room and maybe do those town halls that you might have potentially done before. So is that creating a challenge, or have you got a plan for that as well?
So yeah, there's a number of things that go with it. So I've been very fortunate that the last 2.5 years before here, I delivered a lot of virtual learning, virtual classrooms. So part of it as well will be making sure our managers have got the resources that they need to feel comfortable in having these conversations, so that we all know how to use Teams. That doesn't always mean we know how to use it best or to get the most out of a virtual meeting or a more interactive two-way sort of workshop. So yeah, there's going to be bits in there where we will go and speak to our managers. That's November and December, where we'll give it to them, go, what are the challenges? What support do you need from us then to make sure that you can go and do this? We're not going to do it for you. What support do you need from us to make it happen? So yeah, it's about now taking that baseline of skills that people have got, maybe with virtual platforms, and just adding a little bit more on top to give them that confidence to hold some great conversations with their teams.
Great. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So have we got any questions from anybody? I've not seen anyone so far, but you're welcome to put some in the Q&A at the bottom. If I can ask the PerfectHome team to come back on screen, that would be great. So thanks so much for sharing the journey, and it's been a really nice journey for the start of kind of where you started and gathering all that insight and really understanding both your colleagues and customers to make those changes as well. Does it feel like that you've kind of been on a journey and you're coming out the other side and starting to see that change happening?
Yeah, definitely from my perspective. Like I say, we've been on so many journeys, but I think this is the one that is certainly going to have a lasting effect on me. And I think, it's by no means we're not there yet. We're not at the end, but it is a fantastic journey that we're going on. And I do, think that the team that we have here today, but the wider team in the business have been fantastic in the way that they've responded to things. So yeah, very confident for the future. Very confident.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing so much and joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
So Just before we go, guys, I've got some dates for your diary, some future dates for your diaries. You can find all of this information on the website, and you can register for all the events on the website. And as you know, we've got a number of special interest groups. So we've got a few coming up in November and December. So on the 24th of November, we've got a new one, which is the utilities and energy SIG. So if anybody's in that particular sector, then please do come along to that one. It's going to be a great starter group. And again, on the 26th of November, we've got the people agenda, which is basically for any operational leader, a bit like the guys from PerfectHome today, who are managing culture change or operational change. It's a great group to meet fellow peers and kind of industry experts as well. On the 17th of November, we've got the complaints management one, for any of those out there that deal with complaints. And in December, we've got housing, quality, and the retail special interest group as well, coming up in February. So lots going on in that space. Please, you're welcome to come along to all of them, or whatever floats your boat, really. And then we've got the evolution of the contact centre. We've done part one of that. Part two is about sharing really kind of how contact centres have moved on in the last 6 to 12 months. We've got one around the impact of Brexit on contact centres, so if you're interested in that. And we've also got a couple of events as well around preparing people to come back into the office, so how to make it safe, but not just that, kind of flexible working and home working models as well. So lots and lots of events coming up just towards the end of December as well. Another big thank you to the PerfectHome team for joining us. Thanks to you guys for joining us as well, and we're hoping we'll catch up with you all soon. Take care and have a lovely afternoon. Thank you. Bye.